Back with me are Mary McCord, Rick Tyler, and Cornell Belcher. Okay, can I just know, earlier this month, the Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration to continue these mass deportations with a caveat that, and this is a quote, that the gang members, first of all, we need to know that gang members, Rick's point, where is the due process? But gang members need to be given notice of deportation and the opportunity to contest deportation. Okay, at no point, though, did the Supreme Court even question whether the administration's reasoning was legal, which is, you know, to me, the Supreme Court is not the hero here, but that's just my own personal opinion. But as we speak, there are more notes coming in from this court hearing. Judge Boasberg asked the government lawyer particularly about this very thing that the Supreme Court said. And he asked whether the problem with the notice was that it doesn't give options for ability to file habeas. And the government lawyer took the position that the notice is actually in compliance with the Supreme Court ruling. And then Judge Boasberg, this is the quote, "The note certainly seems problematic to me," said Boasberg, because it didn't include any notification as to any other rights. The judge also questioned whether there was any good faith reason that individuals were moved to a detention facility in Bluebonnet, which is within the Northern District of Texas, which is a favored district. It seems to me that Judge Boasberg is very, he doesn't believe the BS that he's being sold here. If not for Judge Boasberg asking these questions, we actually wouldn't know much of this. Is that safe to say?
That's right. And, you know, remember, Judge Boasberg just on Wednesday issued a 46-page opinion finding probable cause that the administration had violated his court order back on March 15th not to remove any...
so why are they in jail if they violated the court order? I think that's what a lot of people want to know.
Well, he has begun, you know, criminal contempt proceedings, and he is, you know, he's asked the government to either cure your contempt, which they could do by bringing the people back who they deported in violation of his order, or he wants to name names. He wants to know who made the decision.
As you know, the court does not have its own police enforcement. It has the administration to rely on,
which is the U.S. Marshals.
That's correct, and so they are responsive to the Trump administration and not to the courts. This is the danger. When the courts become feckless and people can ignore their orders because there is no consequence, then the court rulings become meaningless, and that is a dangerous road to travel.
See, I want to play Senator Van Hollen today from his press conference, because I actually think that the Trump administration is losing the PR battle on this, and they want us to believe that they're winning. But they want to make this about one thing when it's really about what we are discussing here. Take a listen to Senator Van Hollen.
President Trump and the Trump administration wants to say that those who are fighting to stand up for our Constitution don't want to fight gang violence. That is an outright lie. That is a big, big lie. I, for one, have been fighting against transnational gang violence, especially MS-13, for over 20 years, probably for longer than Donald Trump ever uttered those words, MS-13.
You know, Senator Van Hollen, he grew up as a child of a diplomat. Parent was ambassador. Mother worked within the United States government for years. Like, he has lived overseas. He has lived this and really has dedicated this is like his moment, actually. Why do they think Americans will really choose the hate over the other, using quotes, as opposed to...
Yes, they do.
Really?
I mean, yes. I mean, and why not? I mean, there's a long history of politics in this country where Americans kind of fall on the side of not their better angels. And clearly, even if you look at the polling data right now, he's below water, particularly because the independents have moved away. But if you look at the base of the Republican Party, I'm sorry, your old party, they're still with him, right? And as you know this better than any of us, going into a midterm, it's about where your base is. And they keep feeding their base red meat. And the ideal that this is about gangs and getting rid of these violent, bad people off our streets absolutely does feed into their base. So it is not going to hurt him with a base, but it is signs that it's hurting with independent voters.